You okay?
Yeah, what do you mean? Yeah.
You gonna be okay without me here?
But you don't think I could survive here without you?
Okay, just don't be a dick, okay? Like, be nice to Mom, okay? Don't give her a hard time. She deserves a break.
I always give her a break. When am I gonna get my break? Like...
What are you talking about? All anyone ever does is worry about you. I was ignored my entire childhood because of you.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that my childhood was so dandy.
Okay, you don't get to act crazy your whole life just because Dad died, okay? At least you got to know him.
Well, you're lucky you didn't get to know him, okay? Because that's why you're almost normal. If you got to know him, you would have known that he was, like, the fucking coolest guy ever. And that would have ruined the rest of your life.
Okay, like, but what are you gonna do? Are you gonna get a job, or are you gonna leave the house?
I don't know. I'm gonna open that tattoo restaurant.
No, like, for real.
I am being real. It's never been done before. I looked it up. I Googled it. It's never been done, not even as a joke.
Because no one wants to go to a restaurant and watch people get tattooed while they eat. It's gross.
It's the best idea ever. Ruby Tattoos Days, where everyone's welcome. Chicken and tattoos.
Across the threshold!
I will pay for everything.
What else should I do?
Good.
All right. You good?
Okay, and blow some smoke right when I say action, okay? And action!
Action.
I don't want to wear the suit. I have my own clothes and I like it.
I'm gonna do it to you.
You do it to me.
I'm gonna do it to you.
It's
No,
fun, not-
you do your speech here and then you go,
Okay.
okay? So you're not bonking, you're pushing.
This is Kirsten. That's great.
That's the fun. That looked real, the push.
Nottingham looked real.
I'll bring you some mozzarella sticks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Funny, it's supposed to be just like directly like in a line when you do this split a little more.
I'll just have them.
Just tell them
Yeah,
to like
I'll tell them,
a little
so they don't line up like that. Go.
A lot of good pieces.
But this is kind of cool.
Do that again, handle it, and go like, I'm trying to handle it.
Trying to handle it, okay? What does it look like I'm doing?
Let's take it again from handle it. Ready? And action!
Handle it! What does it look like I'm doing? I'm trying to handle it. Go back inside. Call 911. Call the alarm.
And action!
Want to do this? Let's do this!
Very manic.
I'm standing my ground! I'm allowed to do this! I'm standing my ground!
Cut. I don't think we're going to go farther than them over here.
Yeah.
And I think they could drop out of that.
I think it's great for you. You're gonna have a blast.
All right, cut. Check the gate. Wait. And it's a home run! Oh my God!
Fist pumping, fucking raving, like rave pants. What happened? Jinkos.
Yeah, I mean, we can do it with Keith.
Even this is hard.
We were working on Trainwreck.
Yes.
And Amy Schumer was talking to me about, who's funny, who should we consider putting in the movie.
She threw an alley-oop for me.
She did. She said, you need to see this Pete Davidson kid. You were 19 then, maybe?
Yes, sir.
And she's like, it's crazy how funny he is at 19. And then I said, well, let's put him in this little scene in the hospital.
Right.
Just so we could say we were the first people to put him in something.
I was so happy that it wasn't cut.
We wanted you to be like Richard Dreyfuss in The Graduate.
Oh, he's in that?
Yeah, he has one line in The Graduate.
That's awesome.
At least we could say we knew before anyone else.
That's awesome.
And then, how was that day shooting on Trainwreck for you?
That was so crazy and scary because I didn't know, like, I never shot anything before, so I didn't know, like, you get there and then you just sit in your trailer. So, like, I didn't bring much stuff or deodorant. Like, I just came there, and then I started smelling like shit. And I was just sitting in there because it's like middle of the summer in Manhattan, and then they're like, you're wearing a tank top. And I was like, fuck! And then I was just super in my head about that the entire time, just stinking up the Apatow set.
But my monitor was far away from you, so I didn't know.
Yeah, I did the whole scene like this, even though my leg was busted. And yeah, it was just so much fun. And I got to improv with like Bill Hader the year he left from SNL. It was just super cool to like meet him that way.
And then Bill recommended you to Lorne.
Yes.
And I bumped into Lorne and talked about you to Lorne, and then suddenly you were on SNL.
Yes.
All because of your stinky pits.
Yeah, all because of that.
Your mom said to me that she had to make a deal with you that she would allow you to go to Manhattan by yourself as a child in order to get you to go to school.
She's smart. My senior year at public school in Staten Island, you would get out of school at 11 a.m. And my mom was like, not happening.
Yeah.
She's like, that's not happening. So you're coming to the school where I work your senior year and you get out at 3. So I was like, I just won't show up to school. And she was like, I will allow you to leave from the schools in Brooklyn. I allow you to leave. You can do stand-up as long as you're home. I mean, you don't even it doesn't matter what time you're home as long as you get up and go to school. Yeah. And I was like, deal, no problem.
And so she just let you roam alone and hang out
So I was
with
just like in
comedians.
weird bars with like DeRosa at like 4 in the morning when I was like 16 years
Joe
old.
DeRosa.
Yeah, DeRosa.
Took care of you.
Yeah.
So basically you found this group of comedians who are accepting of a super weird, partially bald, depressed child.
Yes.
And in a way, did you see it like, I found a world of acceptance, or like parental figures?
I think I just was like, wow, I could tell these people how I feel. Because all the open mics is just people trying stuff out. Yeah. So it's just, it felt like a AA meeting for me, but with jokes.
Can you believe how hard it is to be sane? Like, I go to 2 different therapists.
Same.
One on Wednesday,
2
one
on
on
Wednesdays.
Saturday. It requires that to just kind of function.
Yeah, just
Like
to
it's-
be like a little okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never thought that as a kid, like it would take so much mind maintenance.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel exactly the same as I felt when I was 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting older is just being able to deal with shitty things better.
Yeah.
I really think that's what it is. And then when something good happens, you're just so excited.
Yeah.
Because of all the shit.
What is like the 3 things that any therapist has told you that are the things you go back to that you found most helpful?
Take a second. Try not to be impulsive. Yeah. And even to take a second, but like wait 5 minutes thing. Yeah. Turn your phone off, wait 5 minutes is like huge.
5 minutes is a long time.
You take your phone off, you just put it, you just breathe for 5 minutes, and then after you're like, if you still want to call this person a cocksucker, go do it. But you probably don't feel that way after 5 minutes.
Yeah. But sometimes you do.
Sometimes you do, and sometimes they deserve it.
Sometimes you can rev back up.
Yeah.
As soon as you
Sometimes
turn the phone
back. Like, fuck that.
Yeah. But waiting is a tough one.
Waiting's a tough one. Holding ice cubes works. Putting your head in cold water works. Yeah. There's like a lot of like cheesy things that actually work, and you're mad that they are so cheesy.
You're like holding your ice cubes going, God damn
I
it.
just want to punch people in the face.
With this ice cube.
Yeah.
But that's what meditation is about, is just getting used to knowing how to quiet your mind.
Right.
Do you ever try to do that?
I try the meditation stuff. I'm not good at it. What I do is I listen to music and I go for drives.
Yeah.
now. The meditation app's hard for me. It's the voices that are on it.
They're
And
like,
hey,
hello.
hello.
Let's take a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck you. No way. No way I'm dealing
Sometimes
with
it's like a piercing voice. Like,
Sometimes I think it's part of it. I think part of it is to like, you have to deal with this annoying guy.
how was it for you just working with Marisa Tomei?
That was just sick. She's just like an Oscar-winning actress. It's crazy. I couldn't believe that I was in the same room. It just didn't seem very real. And then she looked exactly like my mom.
Yeah.
And then we started getting along kind of like me and my mom. And it was like really intense and cool. And like she's like old school. Like she's an actual actress. Like her on and off set is just two completely different people. And it was just like, again, a learning thing. Like where you're like, okay, make sure you know your fucking lines. Do not fuck this up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause she's not messing around.
She's not messing around. Like she's ready. Like if you're gonna make her, you know, like cry at a picture of a tattoo, like you better fucking be ready to, you know, go, like don't mess her up.
She's very serious about making every scene incredible.
Well, yeah, she also really cared about my mom.
Yeah.
She like cared about me as well. She really wanted to make it like half of the time for the movie. She's like, "Are you actually okay?" She's like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
So like, you know, she really got into that spirit, and it really was really great. And her and Bill are just so great together, which is awesome. I think what Staten Island, or the idea is, it's the sister to Long Island, where it's just like for families and shit.
Yeah.
And if you want to like be more fast paced, you go to Brooklyn, Manhattan, or whatever.
Do people like you on Staten Island?
I think it's 50-50. I think some people do, and they get it, where I'm coming from a loving place, where like I genuinely just want it to be better there.
Yeah.
And I think the other 50 are just like, fuck you, dude. Fuck you, man.
They hate you.
I hate you, man.
You want Staten Island to get better, so you prod it.
Yeah, I want people to come here and be like, wow, this place rocks. I don't want people to be like, hey, I'm afraid to get out to go get that, you know, Moe's Southwestern grill wrap.
Because there's a lot of nice people on Staten Island, but every once in a while, there's a crazy person.
There's a lot of wonderful people on Staten Island. There's also a lot of wonderful, crazy, scary people on Staten Island that you have seen.
Well, every once in a while in the middle of shooting, one of them would come up to us.
Yeah, sometimes someone's spunked out on heroin would just try and wander into the scene, and we would be like, we can't fit this into the program.
We'll take a break.
We'll take a little break.
And we'll deal with this gentleman. When you're doing comedy and you're making a movie like this that has, you know, some discussion of mental health issues in it, what are you trying to say to people who are struggling by being so open about all of this?
Oh, just that like I have these issues and I'm able to do this, or they let me do this sometimes. So whatever you have it's gonna be A-okay.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have this shit. I think they just don't really talk about it.
Yeah.
But like, luckily, Kid Cudi talked about it for me when I was growing up. That was super helpful, and I think he was the pioneer in like getting people to be open about mental health. And at the time, I think it scared a lot of people. But now it's becoming a more topic of conversation, and I think it's a really helpful thing, especially for like kids online that are just like not doing so great.
And the main advice is that it'll get better.
It always gets better. It'll get worse again too, but it always gets a lot better. Whenever you're at your worst, it's just like, it has to go up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I had a therapist who just said, you just have to be in touch with moods. Like, oh, this is that bad mood that comes.
Right.
And it will pass.
Yeah.
But if you're in it, maybe don't do anything important right now.
Right, yes. You learn how to deal with your crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a really important thing. Also, seeing a therapist is cool.
Yeah.
Just having someone to talk to.
Do you like seeing a therapist?
It's super helpful, and if I didn't do it, it would be counterproductive.
There was a day where we had a scene in a bar, and we decided to have a lot of your dad's friends in the bar. And before it, you really were worried about it, but on the day, you seemed to like having them all around.
Yeah, it was really nerve-wracking at first because like they're regular, like we get to deal with emotions all the time through watching movies and making stuff and like healing through that. Like these guys haven't seen anything in 20 years.
Yeah.
Or seen me or any of me. So like all of this is just a fucking straight shot to all of them. So I was just really worried about them. But then having them there made me more emotional and more like wanting to do a better job and put me more in the zone. So I think it helped a lot having them around.
There's a scene in the movie that was a hard scene to shoot where for the first time your character goes with them on a ride along and just watches them put out an apartment building that's on fire. And that was one of the harder days for you.
Yeah, that was pretty sad. It wasn't sad, it was just kind of just like, even though it was like fake and all set up and whatever, it was still just like, wow, this is what they're doing, you know, 5 days out of the week.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just them watching Scarface and shit. It's like they're, you know, leaving everything behind just to go in and save people. So it was really just like seeing that for the first time in person on camera was a lot.
Your grandfather's in the movie.
Yeah, he is.
What is his name?
His name's Stephen Davidson, and he's a fucking animal on set.
And so Stephen Davidson was the guy that got you interested in movies.
Yes. His father owned a movie theater, so he just grew up watching every single movie ever, and he had to babysit all the time, so he just made me watch every single movie ever, but they were like his. So I know like Ernest Borgnine and all those old guys.
Yeah. So he was the one that made you love movies, and he had to watch you, so he'd make you just watch old movies from the 40s.
Yeah, he made me watch old movies from the 40s, and then he got a camera, and we started making our own. And my mom got really mad because we would make like Mission Impossible, where I would like jump off of his shed, and like come down from the ceiling like in like cowboy boots, and I'm like 6 years old, and he would go, "What? We're making movies here."
When we started kicking it around and it became more and more personal, was that something you were comfortable with, or?
I always been pretty open, but like I never thought I would like see it. It's much easier to talk about it than it is to like, because you're doing a version of yourself kind of, so you don't want to like be disappointed in yourself while you're watching yourself. The hard part was being in the firehouse, because I don't go to the firehouse. Like I had to hang out with those boys again. For the most part, it was just like a normal Staten Island family where it's like a lot of love, can't be together, divorced, split the time. Fireman, nurse. It was pretty chill. It wasn't like, there wasn't too much darkness. I had a very chill childhood up until then.
And then they got divorced 6 months before 9/11.
Yeah, like 6 months to a year before. That's when like I was like 7 and like starting to understand like, oh, so like he's not gonna be in this house anymore. I was just getting used to that shit.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting used to the new, like not seeing him, and then it's like, you know, you don't see him at all. The New York way of dealing with things is just distractions. And then you never deal with it.
And so that's the thing that kind of messed you up the most, was it was just such a bizarre aftermath. Because I used to say to you when we were writing, you know, my mom died 11 years ago. No one ever mentions it.
Right.
You know, like after that week, it just doesn't come up almost ever again.
9/11's mentioned on a weekly basis, you know, so I think it made it impossible for me to grieve. Because there was such a fucking show.
In some way, comedy is what saved you, right?
Oh, absolutely. It gives a purpose and like stuff to do. And like, it was the first time I was ever happy was going to an open mic and just trying out a joke, and it got like a little bit of a giggle. You're like, yeah, that feeling's the best. The movie is like my love letter to my mom, and just like overall just like trying to end that part of my life where it's just like, I feel like maybe we got to a place where we could finally let go a little bit. And you know, there's art to it.
What did your mom think of the movie when she saw it?
Oh, she was hysterical. It was awesome. Yeah, whole family in fucking tears. Never been prouder.
Because you did a screening just for your family.
Yes.
And I would assume that would be terrifying. I know I was scared of the idea of all your family in a little screening room.
I was horrified. It was so scary, and but it was fun to watch what they found funny.
And what does your mom think about what it's saying to her? Like, can you have a talk with her about the point of the movie?
I think she got it. My mom's been out. My mom's been going out.
She's been going out on dates.
Coming back. I don't know if she's going out on dates, but she's like, I'm going to hang out with friends. I'll be back at like 2, 3 in the morning. Wow. And I'll be like, ooh. I'll be like, okay. So like the last like month or so, she's been like really social and shit. So I think she got the point. It made me realize that he had his own issues and he, you know, had problems just like everybody else. But it also made me realize that even with all that, his morals were still intact. And like he didn't, you know, like none of that prevented him from not giving a fuck and being a hero. So like, it made me like feel good on two different levels.
When we were shooting the movie, we have everyone dressed up like firefighters. Some of them are real firefighters who were acting in the movie.
Right.
But then the real firefighters are like 2 feet away waiting to go out on a call, and then every once in a while the bell would go off.
Yeah.
And the real ones would
stop
leave.
shooting and like, yeah.
And it was, you know, it's scary every time they leave.
Watching someone leave not knowing if they're gonna come back is the fucking scariest thing ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially if you haven't talked to them or like you didn't, something you want to say to them. You know what I mean? Like, I was lucky. One of the last nights before my dad died, I had a sleepover at his house and we watched like Rambo or some shit, which was probably one of the reasons they got a divorce. I was like 7 just watching Rambo. But like, you know, if you don't have closure, like it's terrifying to know a fireman.
You got to work with my daughter Maude as your sister.
Yes, sir.
Who was the one person who would challenge you in the movie and call you out on everything.
Yes.
And I remember on the days we would shoot that, you genuinely seemed irritated to be called out on everything.
Oh no, yeah. Well, she's you know she's very precise.
Yeah.
She's like you know like she's working on crying.
Yeah.
So when she comes in and she's crying, like be ready, Pete. Like you know like you gotta respect other people's work. Like you gotta learn that there's other people that are getting in their own space. Like I didn't know that. I didn't know like you can't go up to Marisa Tomei before a crying scene and be like, tell her a fart joke. You know, she's gonna be like, what the fuck? Like you don't know shit like that. So I was very lucky to be able to learn through a friend's set with a friend's daughter as well, instead of you know what could have been the worst.
Steve Buscemi, who's in the movie, who plays Papa, he was a fireman when he was a young man.
Yeah, that was really cool. It was really cool for him to see him talking to like other firemen on set that were real firemen, that just being like, is it still, it's like this, you call it this, right? And all that, and it was just really sweet to see him like he really was a fireman. It's fucking crazy.
And in a lot of ways, he's the healing figure in the movie. But watching his acting and watching his dailies, he's one of those people, it seems effortless, it's all perfect, and you're
so
not
good.
sure how it's happening.
It's so good.
I play a fictionalized version of what I'm sure is an amalgamation of women that he dated when he was younger. So like a Staten Island girl who he's known since he was a kid, they're really good friends. And a lot of the movie is them kind of trying to, it's a kind of push and pull relationship. Like they want to do it, but they can't quite get it right. This benefit part of being friends has recently developed, I guess, since they've gotten into their early 20s. And they're kind of looking at each other in a different way, like, oh, I actually like kind of think you're hot, even though I've known you since you were 4. So that's kind of a weird dynamic. And then also Pete's character, I mean, I don't want to speak for him, but, you know, he holds a lot back because of, you know, what's going on with his mental health and his dad and stuff. So it kind of takes a while for Kelsey to really get through to him, but then also get him to believe that she loves him and that he's worthy of that love. So you would say, like, talk, and I, in English accent, say talk. And New York and Staten Island, you'd say talk. So it's actually like, that for me is like quite good. And it's also about like softening like the D's and the T's. So if you were saying don't talk to me like that, I say like don't, like very pointed. You'd be like don't. Like it sounds like kind of like a J or something. Like don't talk to me like that. It's like very splashy. And then also if you just like add a lot of like, like attitude, then it kind of just like comes naturally. Just the themes of this movie are important. I think it's really amazing that rather than it just being like a straightforward JUDD APATOW broad comedy, it's a broad comedy with a twist. It's like got very dark elements. You know, it's really conquering mental health and grief and Yeah, so I think hopefully it will be a good talking point for people.
We had this great show, and I came out the next day I came out of the elevator, and then this woman came up to me with this tall, like, I think he was already taller than me then. He was all gangly, and he was just standing there like, and his mother was doing all the talking. He was just standing there, and she's sitting there going, "This is my son. He wants to be a comedian." I was like, "Oh, how's it going?" He's just going like, he's like talking with his eyebrows. It's just like, all right, this guy looks like a comedian. He is completely socially awkward. He doesn't seem to be connecting with anyone. This is right where you need to be at your age. He looks like he wants to jump out of his own skin. Yeah, this guy looks, I bet he's gonna be great. And what was weird, well, I said, good luck, you're starting young, a couple words of advice, but I met him years later, and he goes, I don't know if I just immediately remembered him. I mean, it's probably why he's starring in this movie. Like, certain people just have that star quality, and you remember them. And I don't know how many dates I do a year, and how many people I meet, but I don't know why I remembered him. When I first read it through, not the smartest guy here, so like I was just reading it linear. I'm like, this guy's a fucking asshole. I'm like, is this what Judd thinks of me, that he wants me to play this guy? Did my wife write this script? When she was mad at me? So anytime I would do a scene and I didn't get it, I would try to find the humor in it. And I just, that's the way I was able to kind of latch onto the guy. The mustache helped too. Working with Marisa Tomei was really intimidating, because I remember that day when I came in with the mustache and they were lining us up, and I remember they put the wig on her whole Margie thing, and she put the glasses on, and there was no more Marisa. And she had this, I can't do the look she had on her face, like when they were just taking a picture of her, and I was like, holy shit. Like, I'm gonna get my ass kicked in this movie, like, what the fuck, and another panic attack. What I loved about working with Pete was he was a total pro. Like, he's number one on the call sheet, which means you're going to be the first one here, last one to leave, and all of that stuff.
I think since I've worked with him the last time, I care more about acting, and before it just felt like I was a kid and sort of just doing it for fun, but now I take it much more seriously, and so it's really nice to have my dad there though, and I feel like he expects a lot of me, and which is really nice, and he'll be honest if he thinks I'm doing a bad job, and I trust him a lot, which feels really nice. My dad has a very relaxed, loose way of shooting, and we do things a ton of times and improvise, and I've never done that before, or I've only ever done that with him, so. It feels nice to come back to this format because it's way more relaxed, and there's not so much pressure on you to get it right away, which feels, not that you ever need to, but it feels more relaxed, and it's fun to improvise, even though that's not my strongest area. I feel like, yeah. And working with Bill and Pete improvising, they're on fire, so it's tough to keep up sometimes, but it's really fun. I play Claire, Scott's younger sister, and I mean, she has a very different relationship with Scott than Margie does. I think she's a little bit more defeated and sort of disappointed that things haven't gotten better, and sort of wishes they could be closer than they are. But I think she still loves Scott a lot and really wants to have a good relationship with him, and sort of just struggles to find things in common with him because she's on a very different path. I think Claire, from all of the chaos growing up, sort of went in the opposite direction, sort of became a hyperachiever and had big goals and dreams and wanted to get out of Staten Island and sort of go to college. She knew exactly what she wanted, and Scott is different in that way, where he's sort of just still trying to figure it out, and maybe for Claire, they sort of clash because he doesn't have that same sort of ambition or drive as she does.
FuturePreviews.com. Whoa! Go behind the scenes of movies. Subscribe to Future Flicks YouTube channel.